Yup. Hi, everyone. It's time I made a video on this subject because I'm angry, and I have been for a while. In case you're unfamiliar, every Monday I take a look at every single board game campaign that is finishing up on Kickstarter. I've been doing that for almost 3 full years. Early July was my first one of these episodes. And so in that time, I've seen thousands of campaigns, and I'm a bit familiar with the marketing ideas that are put forward into a lot of these campaigns. But recently, there has been a conversation happening in the crowdfunding space about the $1 pre-pledge. And I'm going to bring up Kinfire Chronicles as an example. Now, the subject of this video is going to be about the $1 pre-pledge. Continuing that conversation, if you don't know, Alex Radcliffe over at Board Game Co. has 2 really great videos about this topic that generally mirrors my own feelings about them. And I thought, well, there's no real point in me making an additional video because I'm not really adding much to the conversation. But boy, oh boy, have I got something to add to now. Because Launchboom, the company behind that sort of pioneered this $1 pre-pledge, where you can turn your product into an idea with a profitable business, with Kickstarter showing all the numbers of all the millions of dollars they've raised with their proprietary, right here, their proprietary strategies proven to convert 30 to 50 times more and eliminate wasteful ad spend. They put out sort of a response video on this, which of course I had to watch, as it is my legal obligation being on YouTube and being in the crowdfunding space and being opposed to this sort of $1 pre-pledge. And in it, well, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it a lot. And naturally, this company wants to, I think, educate, but also enable themselves to continue using this thing, which they charge, judging by any Reddit questionnaire or thread, around $10,000 for their academy. $10,000. And when a bunch of Kickstarter campaigns, small indie campaigns raise, 40 to 50,000, it's quite a chunk of change. When you're raising $1 million plus, and that is sort of the numbers that they push forward and the examples that they like to give because it makes them seem great at their job. And by all means, they are pretty good at their job. I've no doubt that this $1 pre-pledge has been helping people and converting. Maybe $10,000 is a drop in the bucket. Seems like a lot of money. I mean, 10,000's like $2,500 more than other numbers. So let's go back to contextualize what this $1 pre-pledge is, which I'll be using Kinfire Council's early access as an example. Basically, the premise is, and this is what is explained in this video.
Asking for $1 in the pre-launch has been coming up a lot in conversation in the tabletop game space. Mainly the question is a refundable $1 deposit before the campaign, something that's good for both the creator and the backer?
This is covered in this video. I do want to cover this as sort of the salient points on the reason why these things exist. The reason being, and this is what Alex covered. I'll link to both of Alex's videos down below. This is what Alex covered in his second video. The potential upside for the creator is that you get a better return on ad spend. Basically, you are paying $1, and because they know you're paying $1, and you have this sort of sunk cost fallacy, and you've indicated that you want to buy this exclusive thing that you don't want to pay more for down the line, the chances are that you are going to convert are much higher. They say 30 times higher. So with this $1, you basically have paid the company for the privilege of using your data and taking you as a data person, your data imprint on the world. They can then get Facebook to say, hey, Chris George over there, why don't you market this to all of the people like Chris George out there? And so basically you get to take this imprint of a person, and then they can market to that person more effectively, which can convert more effectively. That is the theory behind this $1 pledge. That's what they've sort of been putting forward as their theory. And Renee told me I wasn't allowed to make this video 100 years long, so I'm going to try to keep it short, but I also want to be involved, and I want to show credit where credit is due. I feel like the list of pushback that is brought up here is covered pretty well. But I also think that there is a vested interest in Launchboom for putting this out. I understand clarification. I think more people are informed about something, the better we're able to make individual decisions. People can absolutely make individual decisions. I continue to feel like the $1 pre-pledge is not a good thing, and I will refuse to cover or back games that have it. That's sort of my line in the sand, and I'll talk about the reasons a little bit more. But I want to talk about a few things in this video because it's a very well-made video. It's made by somebody with a marketing background. It's made by somebody who has the good words, you know? I've also had a good word once or twice in my life, and so I recognize the rhetorical devices used throughout the video and the sort of ways that things are misrepresented slightly. And so I don't want my breakdown of this video to be sort of a character assassination, because believe me, that comes later. But I want to focus on what I took from the video and what made me mad, and some inconsistencies and some things that are incorrect, just flat out incorrect. You know what's incorrect? Number one, when talking about the crowdfunding is risky section. Here we talk about all the numbers of, let's get to it.
With about 6,000 game projects launching every year just on Kickstarter, that means over 3,000 projects fail each year. Second, many creators will spend over $20,000 on their game before they even start crowdfunding. Now, crowdfunding is risky partly because crowdfunding is crowded. As you can see, there are over...
Their premise number one, crowdfunding is risky because crowdfunding is crowded. It is. I agree with a lot of these statements, but I also feel like a lot of the things shown in this video are disingenuous or come from a drastic misunderstanding of how crowdfunding works. So since I'm going to assume that Launchboom are professionals and have, I'll turn to their successes and the amount that they know about crowdfunding, that inclines me to believe that these sorts of mistakes come from a disingenuous place. And that's the sort of thing that makes me upset. And I feel like a lot of this conversation around this $1 pre-pledge and making it a little bit more accessible start to feel icky because of these little bits. It's death by 1,000 cuts. It's all the little falsehoods and the little tweaks of language to lull you in rather than just being upfront and being accurate and specific blow my mind. So here we have everything shown, live projects on Game on Earth sorted by magic. The correct way to search for this would be to go to games, immediately go to the drop down of tabletop games and not video games, and then go to the live project section, which gives us 418, not 728. Further on in the video, I think maybe I'll play it. He says there's like 23,000 campaigns that are upcoming. In the tabletop space, there are 1,300. It's best to show our work in these sorts of things.
700 live game projects on Kickstarter right now. And if I click on over to the pre-launch pages, there are
upcoming 2,374. Well, no, it's 1,396. This is the essence of the $1 pre-pledge. This is the essence of skewing numbers in their favor. And in fact, this doesn't account all the different things that are sorted into the crowdfunding sphere. I look at every single board game campaign that finishes up in the next week, and I've been doing this for almost 3 years, and I have hit my current numbers because I keep track of the numbers. It's auto in the description of every video I put out because I keep track of the numbers. We're currently at, not including this Monday's episode. Oh, I didn't update that one. Okay, let's do it. 10, 20, 30, 1831. Because a lot of these campaigns are selling sort of board game paraphernalia, our RPGs, our little zines, one-off zines. Like, let's look at the actual week, sorted by end date. This is how the sausage is made for me. I scroll through all of these games, and oh yeah, and so many are these stupid STL files of, half-naked women in different poses. But you can scroll through them, right? You can see the different stuff that is here. A lot are storytelling, a lot are RPGs, a lot are print and plays. And so going with those stats, bumping them up to just be games and not tabletop games, when the only good thing that this drop down of Kickstarter has happened right now is adding that there's a clear way to sort by tabletop games and you don't have to do it in the back end, in the weeds, is disingenuous. It is. That's disingenuous, number one. Let's turn back to my notes. I also have an issue with how this idea is framed, or is trying to be reframed. And I think it is actively trying to be reframed here, right? There's a marketing agency who has a vested interest in reframing the conversation. I think there's an importance of educating, but I think there's also a reframing of the conversation that happens. And I'm even struck with it more watching this another time, hearing the costs associated with. Every cost seems to be around $10,000 or higher, because this is a subtle pitch for, if you're convinced, you'll see what a great value is spending $10,000 on their program. Like, this is not by accident. And if it is, well, somebody send me a tinfoil hat, because it feels like it isn't. Earlier in the video, our Launchboom CEO says, in order to reframe it, says that they don't understand why it's being perceived as such, that they have always interpreted it as somebody raising their hand and saying, hey, I'm interested, and because of that, you get an extra little thing. Again, this reframing of the discussion is happening, where that's not what people are taking issue with. Are the amount of people raising their hand saying, I'm in because I want to support the game? Are they existing fans? Or are they raising their hand because they get a fake inflated deal, a free micro expansion that has an arbitrary value assigned to it to make you feel like you are getting something special, to make you feel like you can't afford not to pledge $1, to make you buy in to receive additional marketing material? Or is it people who want to know things about the game? Well, he even goes on later on in the video to say that one of the new suggestions moving forward is to get more information on these pages, because a lot of these pages, and we go, again, going to the Kinfire conversation, don't have information about the game. They don't have that information on the page. They don't have an easily accessible information about the campaign. And so I call a bit of BS on saying that it's people who are excited about the game because they want this thing. Often you don't know much about this thing. And in fact, by the CEO's own admission near the end of the video, saying what can be improved, the idea that he's pushing for more and more information to be available before the campaign, for people to make that decision when they decide to buy in with their data and their wallet. There's also the conversation, this is a side tangent, like, you're essentially selling your data, right? But I'm not one of those people who even takes offense to that, because I just assume that all of our data is being sold already. I feel like if you live in the internet age and you don't assume that all of your data is being sold, nah, you're spending $1 to allow a marketing company to use your data so you know where it's going. But it'll probably be used anyway. I think you can make the argument that you're just signing up to have your data being used consistently, but that's not an argument that I'm going to use, because this video is already too long and I know Renee will chastise me for it. Let's get back to my notes. Additionally, the point is brought up in here, which I think the CEO of Launchboom, with their proprietary software, has a vested interest in saying. I can't find the clip right now. It's in there, where he goes on to ask the question of, how do you not know? Why are we not asking the question, what about the people who want this expansion to begin with? What about the people who were excited about the game and we're giving them additional value? And then juxtaposes that with the reason why this one campaign raised $4 million, this RPG campaign, is because they had 11,000 people sign up for that $1 pre-pledge reservation that got them a mini expansion. They were first-time creators. Look at the success that they've had. And so I think both of those statements being held alongside each other is a bit silly. Either they're already fans that would have purchased anyway, which means that your conversion numbers of it being 30 times more likely, it just means the people who were already going to purchase, purchased. People who are going to spend money, spent money. And so then you can point to that as like a monumental success, because the people who were going to spend money spent the money, which I'm only bringing up because it was brought up in the video. But I guess it's excused because those $1 people were going to spend the money anyway, right? I've been rambling for a bit. Maybe I've cut that. Here's my main issue with this video. It goes to the emotional manipulation section, which...
Now, one of the critiques I want to focus on for a second is the idea that this only works because it's emotionally manipulative, meaning that the only reason why someone puts down the $1 or follows through with back
here it is. This is where it is.
Because they were dishonestly persuaded through some type of FOMO marketing tactic. The question that keeps coming up for me when I hear this being brought up is it possible that people put down $1 because they actually want that thing? I haven't seen that question be asked or explored. It seems like this part of the critique is being positioned as being black or white. While it is true that if someone puts down $1, they are more likely to follow through with the purchase because they've committed a small amount of money, It is also true that there are people that put down $1 because they are really excited about the game and supporting the creator, and they like the idea of getting something at a discounted price for doing that. For example, we worked with the Legends of Adventures team who
Here's where we
used the
talk about the
$1
$4 million
reservation to
win.
launch their first campaign, The Crooked Moon. For $1, someone would get an awesome Legends of Adventures enamel pin and a mini expansion. They had over 11,000 people put down $1 in the pre-launch. There was virtually no negative feedback. Instead, there were a lot of people who felt excited to be part of the campaign and to support a creator that they loved. Because they had this $4 million profitable campaign, the Legends of Adventures team were able to quit their jobs to focus on this full time, in large part because the $1 reservation strategy helped them make money on their project and backers got something awesome in return. Which brings me to the clickbait analogy, where Alex compares the $1 reservation to clickbait. Now, he does say that it's not the perfect analogy, but it's been brought up in both videos now, and I think it's a really poor comparison to make. Clickbait is where you attract attention to your content by saying one thing and then you don't deliver on that thing that you said. It's essentially a broken promise. And because it's a broken promise, it may work in the short term, but it alienates your audience over the long term. If the $1 reservation strategy was to promise backers a discounted add on and then not give them that discounted add on, then I would agree with the analogy of clickbait.
This
The
is
backers
so
are being promised a
friggin'
discounted
bogus.
add on and then being given that discounted add on. So there is no dishonesty going on between the creator and the backer. Instead, there is an honest transaction happening that gives backers something valuable and creators a higher likelihood of being profitable on their campaign, which is a very good thing over the long term. Because again, if more creators can be profitable on their campaigns, which the $1 reservation is extremely good at doing, then more creators can build long-lasting businesses, which is good for everyone.
I feel like this is sort of setting yourself up for a straw man's argument. There's also there was like, hey, well, as long as we give a $1 thing for that price, it happened, right? That's what people wanted. People wanted to sign up for Kinfire Council, and they really wanted to get a free micro expansion for all 5 games. No, they want a good game, and they're incentivized by a deal hoping that the game will be good. And because they are now bought in, and they are more likely to convert and to buy the game, that doesn't mean that they're going to like the game. Because they bought in with no knowledge, they bought in for this random thing that could be useless, probably is, and they bought in because one of the major problems with crowdfunding, with Kickstarter, with most crowdfunding, is the reasons that you need to give your backers to back, right? If you can just get it at retail later on, there's no point in actually backing and purchasing the game. You have to give your viewers, your audience, your backers some potential value, some potential thing that they're not going to get elsewhere. And this is that thing. It just adds to that growing feeling behind it.
Because those that put down a deposit are much more interested and more likely to follow through with their purchase. This then creates a win-win because backers get an add-on for $1, while the creator gets an understanding of who is most interested. And with this information, the creator can better optimize their ads, which means that they are more likely to get a positive return on their investment into marketing. So, because it creates a win-win offer that increases the likelihood of a profitable campaign and building a long-lasting business, the $1 reservation is an ethical marketing strategy.
There's the quote in here that because it creates a win-win with your backers, because your backers are getting something, the $1 thing that they wanted, they desperately wanted, and that isn't just to convince them to buy in, to continue. They wanted this thing. They didn't know they wanted it until they saw it, but they wanted it. And because, Joe Company over here can get the data that they need to improve the return on ad spend. Yeah, I really I agree with that. That's great. It's a win-win, right? It really serves both people, so therefore it's ethical. I think it doesn't serve both parties. I have been one of the people to talk about it feeling predatory because it benefits the company and corporation much more than it benefits those backers who are getting a fake thing to make them back. And yes, I know that it's actually been delivered. It is a real tangible thing, but it's made up. Yes, all games are made up. Yes, this specific part of the game, specific element to it, is made up specifically to hook people in and to draw them in. And that feels a little bit predatory to me. Actions characterized by manipulation or harm of others for personal gain often involves manipulation, taking advantage of vulnerable individuals or situations. Super backers, whales on Kickstarter or mobile card games. I know that our friendly Launchboom only has our best interests at heart. I know that it's been said it's a win-win, so we must agree that it's a win-win, right? It's been said that, the dollar converts, and it's because of that dollar that it converts. And that's why first-time creators are able to, make a name for themselves, create lives, start new businesses, have wonderful things. And hey, I'm saying it sarcastically, but like all those things are great. I really wish for the best for the creators. I do have a little bit of a problem with people saying it's a win-win, and in the same breath saying, here's how to create a successful campaign with psychological tricks where you can take advantage of backer psychology. Let's look at this win-win. Let's look at this ethical sort of company that's come up with this revolutionary method. Let's look at this ethical company that just wants to add to the conversation and illuminate things. It's really nice. I know we don't agree on all aspects of this, but I also think we don't have to agree in life. We have to be able to talk to each other. I agree, Alex. And you can see by all these replies from Launchboom that Launchboom's interested in carrying on the conversation, right? Launchboom certainly isn't interested in you getting for feedback. Peter here says, I think it's a hype train. They say, what's hype train? I've never heard of hype train before in crowdfunding ever. I'm curious what hype train is, and I really wish Peter replied, because it sounds like Launchboom's really, really interested in carrying on the conversation. You have the outliers. You have a few people here. You have that one outlier who says this is sleazy, and you know that you have that there to make sure that people know that both sides of the conversation will be engaged with, but Launchboom will engage with people who comment in good faith. Except, wait a minute, what's this? There's a reply here. That's weird. There isn't a reply here, because I know Peter, and Peter says he didn't delete his reply. It must have been pretty offensive, right? Let's read it. Many campaigns will treat the campaign launch date as a threshold for when any information for a game can be released. They will have a media embargo for any reviewers or collaborators, explaining hype train. Peter, you're doing the Lord's work. You're a friendly neighborhood person, just like Launchboom, right? Once the campaign launches, the common practice is to release a flood of reviews and info at the start of the campaign, and to continue trickling out more news until the close of the campaign so that it continues to be talked about. That's what we would call the hype train. I would call that as well. Expecting an investment on nothing more than a game title and maybe a couple of pieces of art before that launch date is really only going to attract people who are in the know, already fans of the designer, publisher, artist, or already hooked by the theme. Yeah, this is the $1 magical pledge that converts that they want to sell you. Honestly, I'm surprised that the conversion figures on that group isn't higher, because it sounds like skewed data to begin with. I get that you're collecting the data of those investors to focus where advertising investment should be spent. It sits wrong with me to charge people money to use their data and to report inflated conversion values to the publishers as a justification of the practice. Feels like everybody is getting used. I wonder what Launchboom did reply to. Oh wait, no, they got rid of it. But that's fine. They didn't say that. I thought they said it was good that we had the conversation, but it was Alex who is interested in promoting open discourse. It's weird that got deleted, because there's no keywords in there that would have been flagged by YouTube. There's no reason why that comment would have been deleted, and yet it was. And I also think it's weird that if you were to post a link, well, YouTube sometimes gets rid of links, so I wouldn't be that surprised if something like this got deleted. And so I wonder, in this article on Launchboom's website, and don't worry, I've already archived it so that we have a copy in case this somehow gets deleted, because these things just seem to get deleted, nowadays. It goes about, the psychological mindset of the creator, and then it also helps a little bit further your friendly neighborhood Launchboom how to create a successful campaign with psychological tricks. It's time to build your campaign in a way that takes advantage of backer psychology. It's a great read, really is. If there's one thing that unifies backers and crowdfunding, it's where they're situated on the product adoption curve. Visualizes the different groups of people who adopt new technology. Innovators and early adopters are the people who back crowdfunding projects. So what does that indicate about the cognitive biases backers can have that we can find useful? We characterize backers as people who want cool stuff at a discount before anyone else. This is the core of their strategy, because many of them are seeking to discover new products before they're mainstream, and are naturally prone to taking more risks with their purchases. This is the first psychological trick we can exploit. What a lovely use of language here. I think language is important, right, when we're talking about it. And I may not have the good words, but I think I do. Just a couple. And I think using words like take advantage of, exploit, reminds me of something. It reminds me of a definition of predatory behavior. Let's keep reading. What? I'm so confused. Why is this being seen as predatory? Why can't we just exploit our backers in peace because of FOMO? Trick number 2, I help you and you help me. There's a psychological principle called reciprocity. It feels like we're really glomming onto something here. Now that we've opened up the doors and we've really opened ourselves and said, listen, now we can be upfront because board gamers like to look a little bit underneath the hood because board gamers get upset when marketing and FOMO tactics are used on them consistently over and over. Here are some creative ways you can employ this concept. Exclusive perks. Offer a chance to win an exclusive perk. Or maybe get something nobody else will at a deal? But here's my favorite trick. Trick number 5. Psychological trick number 5 to get your backers to back. I don't know why. I know that there is a different connotation to the word trick, but if someone were to come up to you and say, I'm going to pull some psychological tricks on you right now, would you be excited or would you be turned off? Who can tell? This is an interesting thing. I really do like the question of it's being seen as FOMO, right?
The question that keeps coming up for me when I hear this being brought up is it possible that
Is it possible that people put down one because they actually want that thing?
I haven't seen that question be asked or explored. It seems
I haven't seen it either.
Critique is being positioned as being black or white. While it is true that if someone puts down $1, they are more likely to follow through with the purchase because they've committed a small amount of money, it is also true that there are people that put down $1 because they are really excited about the game and supporting the creator. What I hope is that more people realize that this isn't just some emotionally manipulative FOMO marketing tactic to separate you from more of your money.
I hope people realize that this isn't just another emotionally manipulative FOMO tactic to separate you from your money. Trick number 5, the last seat in the trip. The fear of missing out. FOMO is a feeling that many marketers take advantage of to drive engagement and conversions. At every point along your crowdfunding campaign funnel, you want to think about how you can compel leads to get further toward the next goal. You can think about it in these concepts. Exclusivity. This comes in play most effectively building your pre-launch email list. Your VIP list, as we'll call it, is 30 times more likely to back your campaign than the average person, and that's because of the exclusive perks, the win-win. Sorry, where does it say win-win on this one? Because I think it's saying FOMO here, but I thought it was a win-win, but it's not really being classified as that internally, is it? Oof. Yikes. Okay, well, I guess we'll call it FOMO then, because that seems to be what people are calling it. Scarcity. Scarcity is one of your best psychological tools for upselling. This is the one that, Alex and I both hate. Another trick from Launchboom's playbook, fantastic, friendly neighborhood, not emotionally manipulative, predatory behavior whatsoever. Scarcity is one of your best psychological tools for upselling. When it comes to bonus perks like add-ons, you can tell your backers that there is a limited quantity, which is an effective way to get people to want it. Urgency. This one operates much in the same way as scarcity, but uses limited time instead of quantity to compel people to buy. Limited time, like pledging $1 beforehand to get an exclusive thing? Who knows? Use it in your marketing as your campaign winds down to try to get a boost in funding before it's over. But I'm glad we have, no longer a faceless company, but we have a nice, charming person telling us, oh God, trick number 6, you need a face. Crowdfunding is social by nature. They want to feel they know you intimately. People, there are actually human beings behind the project. Makes everything seem more familiar. Dang. I hope that isn't brought up in the emotional manipulation section, that there's some emotional manipulation going on here.
Because they are really excited about the game and supporting the creator. And they like the idea of getting something at a discounted price for doing that. For example, we work with the Legends of Adventures team who used the $1 reservation to launch their first campaign, The Crooked Moon. For $1, someone would get an awesome Legend of Evantress
Awesome.
enamel pin and a
Sounds
mini
awesome.
expansion.
Yeah.
They had over 11,000 people put down $1 in the pre-launch.
That's a lot.
There was
They really wanted
virtually
that
no
exclusive
negative
item.
feedback. Instead, there were a lot of people who felt excited to be part of the campaign
Yeah.
and to support a creator that they loved.
They do love that
Because
creator.
they had this $4 million profitable campaign.
They love that first-time creator. They supported a creator that they loved, that they would have backed already, but only backed because the $1. But they found out that they loved them because it was the first time create. That seems too hard to unpack. Let's keep going.
The Legends of Evantress team were able to quit their jobs to focus on this full time.
Wow.
In large part because the $1 reservation strategy helped them make money on their project, and backers got something awesome in return. Which brings me to
that. Wow. You know what? What a heartfelt story that I didn't think I would feel in this emotional manipulation section. What a beautiful, heartfelt story about creators being able to pursue their passions and people getting an awesome thing. Double use of awesome. Cool. Pretty cool. Launchboom is this sort of yellowish, right? So we're getting some positivity, joy, and happiness. That's trick number 4, design with the right colors. But you know what? I think that one is really working. You know, I was feeling a little down when I was seeing this. And when I was seeing this, you know, deleted comments and muzzling any conversation that goes against what they want to talk about. But now, coming to this site, I think I'm feeling positively joyful. So what do you think? Because I think it's a big fucking yes. Love this comment. We've already talked about it. Saying a 4 million campaign was successful because of the $1 pre-pledge is an insanely cherry-picked example. Yeah. I think this will absolutely make you money. I think likely if it continues to make people money, it will continue to get used. That's the reality of the situation, right? Things that make money continue. And I think anybody who feels the way I do should continue to vote with their wallets and not back and not show things and make your voices heard. Because when you put out a call to your audience and 45% of them added that on, 45% of your most active followers will tell you that it'll have a negative impact on your campaign, I think you do the right thing and cancel. Whereas 13% want it done. 1, I didn't know there were that many people who worked at Launchboom. And 2, I think you make the right call and excite your audience. I think there are a lot of people and a lot of people who are just trying to make it out there. I got a really great email from somebody who watches the channel who urged people to be communicative and to talk to the creators and to not be overtly ready to condemn them and pull the trigger because they have been informed that it is a standard practice. But I think somebody pushing this idea forward who's now serving to try to educate the masses so that they can continue to do it, so that they can continue to charge $10,000 for their marketing strategy, their academy, their bundled advice. That's what all the reports seem to say. It was 15,000 a year and a half ago, or around 2 years probably now, but now it's gone down to 10,000 or less. And I think small-time creators who are taking that advice, not aware of the potential backlash from their audience, the potential turning of the tide, and the potential that it vastly supports people who were going to buy it anyway, expecting an investment on nothing more than a game title and maybe a couple of pieces of art before that launch date is really only going to attract people who are in the know, already fans of the designer, publisher, artist, or are already hooked by the theme. I mean, it was deleted, so maybe it was incorrect. That's why it was deleted. Or maybe it was a little bit too correct. And charging people who have used this, so I know apparently Stellar Drift used this and was reached out to, and they responded, listen, like, we didn't really know that people were going to do a backlash against it. Because this was my pick of the week. I thought it looked good. And then I was like, nah, don't get it because that's a stupid marketing tactic. Small-time creators who pull in $27,000 for their game, having already maybe spent $20,000 in art and assets beforehand, and then an additional $10,000 to use Launchboom's patented email list setup. I'm sure it wasn't this one with Launchboom. Oh, also Launchboom doesn't do Kinfire Council because they only do refundable ones. And that's another point that we didn't even get into because this video is too long. But nobody's going to be bothered to refund it. And even if you do refund it, you already have the data. So it's really a win-win for the company. Maybe that's what it means by win-win. I think you're going to see small-time creators get burned by this. I think you're going to see certain people positively gain off of this. And I think those certain people are rarely going to be the consumer. I think the only thing that you can do is vote with your wallet, and we'll see what ends up happening. I don't think the question of why can't they just be on the email list or do this as an early bird, which already existed, why it has to be a $1 spend beforehand to get something good has honestly been answered unless you go to this article. For me, I'm consumer focused. I don't like people being taken advantage of. I constantly fight out against the fear of missing out that exists in crowdfunding because it always will be there. And I want people to get things that they will enjoy for years and years to come. But for the consumer, that $1 doesn't guarantee any of that. So we can straw man up any argument we want, but I'm going to go with psychological trick number 3. Using social proof and making it real. I'm going to go with the social proof of people who engage in the conversation, who don't delete screenshots, and who don't have a fucking article on their websites that details all the psychological tricks they're going to use to exploit me as a backer.